Balitang National. Good morning, Pilipinas, and welcome to another edition of Balitang National. For this video, allow me to use English and Tagalog as our medium of instruction. Isang task na naman ang ating gagawin. Here, we are going to subtract the two given rational expressions. We have 5 over x squared minus 4 all over x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now, before we could subtract them, since they are considered to be rational expressions and they behave the same as fractions, we need to really understand how do we subtract fractions first. If we have two fractions like this, let's say 1/6, and you have here 1/8, and we are going to subtract 1/8 from 1/6, you cannot say that the answer is 0. Kasi nga po, di po pwedeng masubtract sila automatically because their denominators are not the same. These two fractions are considered to be dissimilar fractions. We can only add or subtract, in this case, fractions which are similar. This is why we had the idea of looking for LCD. Now, 6 and 8 could be multiplied to get 48 because it's a common multiple as well. But 48 is not the least common multiple. We can use here this process. 6 is actually 2 times 3, and 8 is 2 times 4. The least common denominator of 6 and 8 will use 2, and since 2 repeated, we only need to write 1, 2. Then we place here 3 and 4. Okay? So we have 2 times 3 times 4. The LCD for these two fractions ay 24 po, di po 48. Pagkatapos nito, we can now use this to solve the item later. But let's start with going back to these given rational expressions. Now, it's very obvious na di po sila similar kasi nga po yung ating denominators are different expressions. But since we are going to look for LCD, let's try to factor both of them. We're talking about the denominators here. So this is still 5. And let's factor the first denominator. You have x squared minus 4. This expression po ay tinatawag nating difference of two squares. Kasi nga po, yung dalawang terms natin dito ay perfect square expression. We have x squared, which is the perfect square of x. At saka yung 4 ay perfect square ng 2 at saka negative 2. And it's called difference of two squares because the operation separating them is subtraction. And if it fits the criteria, we are sure that we have two binomial expressions po. Yung binomial expressions natin ay magkapareha yung first term at saka yung second term, pero nag-iiba lang po, magkaiba lang sa kanilang operation separating the terms. We do it like this. Take the square root of x squared, that's x. Yun din po ang ilalagay dito. Take the square root of 4, that's 2, and 2 here. So these are now the factors of our first denominator. Now, aside from the LCD later, another purpose of our factoring is baka may makita tayong pwedeng makancel. Pero since our numerator is just 5, so wala pa tayong makacancel dito. Let's continue with the second. So it's still 4 over this expression. This is a quadratic trinomial. In that case, we can use the AC way. AC allows us to multiply A and C. A here is the coefficient of x squared, that's 1. And C is your constant of 4. AC is 4. Now, after we get AC, let's look for factors of AC. We can have 1 and 4 as given. We could also try negative 1 and negative 4. Pwede din po yung 2 at saka 2, then yung negatives nila. These 4 pairs po, when multiplied by their partner, aabot po tayo sa ating AC, which is 4. But only one pair will result to our middle coefficient of positive 4, the coefficient of x in the middle term, and that is actually this pair here. 2 plus 2. When these are 2 are added, you will get plus 4, the middle term, and 2 times 2, that's your AC. So we are now sure that these are the coefficients of what? The coefficients of two binomial expressions din po. We're going to take the square root of the first term, x, and x here as well. And let's use the coefficients, x plus 2, and the other side, x plus 2 as well. Notice po, magkapareha po yung ating factor sa pangalawang denominator. This also because the given quadratic trinomial is also considered as a perfect square trinomial. You could review the reason behind, but whenever we have a perfect square trinomial, we are assured to have two binomial expressions of the same structure multiplied with each other. Now, the purpose of this will anchor here. Kasi nga po, they are dissimilar rational expressions. So, ibig sabihin, maghahanap po tayo ng LCD. Yung LCD po dito is kagaya ng ginawa natin dito sa 6 and 8. Since 2 repeated, you only write 2 once. In this case, x plus 2 here and x plus 2 on the other side. So you have x plus 2 written only once. Just for the first step. Then we place a 3 and 4. Dito, ilalagay natin yung natirang binomial expression sa first rational expression at saka yung isang x plus 2. So, dalawang x plus 2 pa rin po. Okay, kasi nga po, yung ating pangalawang rational expression, its denominator is x plus 2 and x plus 2 po. Dapat kasi, dalawa silang mag-appear at saka kung may kailangang ilagay kasi nag-LCD tayo, yun yung ilalagay natin. Now, what's the purpose of this? Going back to 1.6 and 1.8, kahit na nakuha na po natin yung LCD, di pa rin ibig sabihin na 1 minus 1 yung gagawin natin sa numerator. Kasi nga po, when we look for LCD, the next purpose is to come up with equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions in the sense that it's another form of a fraction but has the same value. And it looks like this. When you have your LCD, which is 24, divide by 6, you have your 4. That 4 is to be multiplied to your original numerator here. Okay? This would now make us equivalent fractions. Kasi nga, 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 3 times 4 is 24. Tama? 4 over 24 is actually 1/6 in its lowest term. So we were not changing the actual value of the fraction. We are just converting it to an equivalent fraction using the LCD so that we could make the two fractions later similar and proceed with the operation. Same thing here. 24 divided by 8 is 3. That would be the multiplier of our numerator. But let's say this is 7. So this is also 7 here. Multiplier of 7 pa rin. And of course, the operation is negative or minus. Let's use minus here. So using the same concept, this is our LCD to be divided with this pair of factors. So we have x plus 2, x minus 2. May isang x plus 2 pa po natitira. Yan yun po ang ating i-multiply sa ating original numerator. Doing the same on our second rational expression, divide by this, we have 2x plus 2, so remove this. What remains is an x minus 2, and that will be multiplied to your numerator so that we could retain equivalent fractions. And since it's minus, minus po yung gagawin natin. So yung mangyayari is we are just going to multiply the entire numerator. Our denominator is still the same, x plus 2. We also have x minus 2. And we still have one more, x plus 2 here. But our numerator will undergo the distributive property. 5 times x po is 5x. 5 times 2 is positive 10. Now, sa kabila, since we have subtraction here, this is just a suggestion. Okay, let me still have a grouping symbol here. Now, but of course, kung kaya nyo naman, pwede nyo pong diretso yung ilalagay nyo mga expressions. Pero, I'm just going to make it like this so to exemplify further the use of grouping symbol. Because it's the entire result of this that will be subtracted from the entire result of the first, not just x or something like that. So it will happen like this. Distribute 4 times x, you have 4x. 4 times negative 2, that's actually minus 8. Moving forward here, your numerator would be 5x. Okay, you will still have 5x here. Plus 10. And here comes the important part. When you remove the grouping symbol, and if you ever place your grouping symbol, di po kayo magkakamali dito. When you remove your grouping symbol, all the signs of the terms inside the grouping symbol will be changed. From positive 4x, we'll have minus 4x. Our minus 8 will become plus 8. See po, kapag di nyo po nilagay ito, yung grouping symbol kanina, you will just assume that it's still minus 8. But it's incorrect and it's not the same when you have your grouping symbol. And this is a more appropriate result. That's why may grouping symbol talaga. But of course, your denominator is still the same. X plus 2 times a binomial x minus 2 times another quantity of x plus 2. Now, combining our numerator, 5x minus 4x is x, plus 10 plus 8 is 18. All over pa rin, the same denominator. X plus 2, you have x minus 2, and another x plus 2. Let's check if we could cancel something here. Some of you might say this because it's x, and 18 divided by 2 is actually 9. But it's incorrect because then again, cancellation law po na tinatawag natin is only applicable for terms or coefficients separated by multiplication. Notice what is the operation separating x and 18 in your numerator. It's addition, so you cannot use the cancellation law here. In this sense, this is already our final result. Or, if you would like to multiply the binomial expressions in your denominator, you may still do it. As long as you do it right, you will have the same result for the difference of these two given rational expressions. Lester Lou Sigumpan, nagbabalita for Balitang Rational. Huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe, i-like at i-share ang video ito. Maraming salamat!